to the Starting Over podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Today's episode is episode 200. Wave your hands in the air and pop the party balloons and all that other good jazz. As you can tell, I'm using Skype call magic. It's a wonderful type of magic, but unfortunately it costs you real money to use it. So I have my Phoenix Nest team members in a roundabout way. I have team member number one, similar to like thing number one and thing number two from Dr. Seuss. I have KJ. Say hello to me.
What's up?
Okay.
What's up, everyone?
All right, and then I have thing number two is Eric.
What's up, guys? Eric Jackson coming out of Phoenix, Arizona.
Yay. And thing number three is my newest member, Sarah Edwards. Say hello to nice people.
What's up? What's up?
Yeah, so today we're just going to be talking about meta stuff, things that we find fun about heroclix. We're not necessarily going to do the typical, so how did you get into the game of heroclix? Because at this stage, I think everybody has like a similar story, like they went and found a magical board game and then got sucked into the vortex of spending money. Yeah, so that's how it is. So let's just start off talking about some recent competitions. Sarah, you were in Texas here recently, so tell us about your tournament you went to.
There was a lot of different varieties of teams. There was a lot less Krang than what I thought there was going to be. I think there was like 2 or 3 Krang teams altogether, possibly. There's a lot more Jakeem Thunder teams than what I thought. I actually went against the Krang team first round. It was Krang, Justin, a Night Nurse, and then the Bizarro Green Arrow, and actually won Mackerel against him. I was playing a Magneto, the Uncanny X-Men Super Rare Mags, Pixie, and Clarion. Won Mackerel, and then that whole game was just die rolls. I ended up losing against the Krang. So, and then second round I played against Wes, actually. He was playing that Jakeem Thunder team. And then third round I played against Easton. He was playing a POG team with Greenlight, Ant-Man, etc. Fourth round I played against a Devil Doc Ock team, which is interesting. And then the last round I played against a arcade team with New Penguin. So that was quite interesting. He won Mackerel.
Okay. So, like, that's it's a lot of politics. I know. What was the name of the venue in Texas? I forgot. Was it Big Bang or?
It was. No, I think it was. No, it wasn't Big Bang. It was Space Cadets.
Space Cadets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, normally I'm on top of this, but it's been a whirlwind weekend. And in particular, let's just start talking about sort of one of the things I feel that's on the table right now is welcome to Pogland. Did you make photocopies of those things that is supposed to come with your heroclix? Because the way that it sounds like people are making tons of pogs, more pogs than they should be or will be shipped with you with your standard purchase. And we'll just go around and say and have everybody talk about what they think how that's going to impact the game. So I'll start off with Eric. What do you think about the Pog Tech new era that's about?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's kind of new. I like it. I'm always happy for new elements to be added to the game. Not a hater against that tech. I haven't played against it yet, so I've only been hearing reports of people dealing with these teams. Well, no, I can't say that. I played one match, and the guy was using a Namor from the Captain America Civil War set, the prize board Namor.
Yeah.
And that was kind of interesting. Definitely, if you don't ignore characters, they can get in there and harass you, eating up your actions, having to deal with them by either moving away, maybe possibly having to try to break away, and or wasting an action just to kill a 0-point pog. So I think it's kind of neat. Not necessarily, I don't think, for me and the way I like to play, but I think it's cool.
Yeah. Okay, KJ, what's your thoughts?
Well, I've been blessed, let's just say, to play against a POG team in Michigan that's very popular there, and I've also played a POG team myself. I think it's just with the player, and how you really look at, let's say, how they're going to play it. Are they going to make them a piece that's going to, let's say, tie up everybody and get on your nerves? Or are you going to make this piece a part of your, these pogs, part of your primary attackers? And at the end of the day, it's going to cause havoc for whoever you're playing against.
Okay. Sarah, what's your thoughts on the pog tech?
I think they're actually like really annoying to go up against, especially with like tying people up. If you can't, like, if you don't ignore characters for movement purposes, if you're not a flyer, if you're playing on an indoor map, it's going to be hard to position around them, especially with like all these morphing Ant-Mans where they can morph, and then of course the poison. If you don't have any damage reducers or anything, I mean, you're going to take poison almost every turn. They have sidesteps, so they're going to sidestep poison. And then with this new penguin, I mean, with the pulse wave penguins, I mean, that's a new threat. I mean, they can use sidestep and then pulse wave, but I think they're actually pretty big threats. You're using another action to get rid of a pog that you don't get any points for. So
Yeah, I think right now where we're going is we're going to this like slow descent into, I call it a mild madness. It's not a full-on madness where you're seeing like yellow dinosaurs talking to you and asking if you want pizza. It's not that type of madness. I think it's that type of madness of, so how many pogs and which types of pog combinations am I going to be? I'm going to have to face, and I think that's one of the huge issues right now, because when you start looking at your pog generators, there's some pog generators that I was like, man, I forgot about those guys. And I know, and just for giggles, I'm just listing off some of the pog generators in modern right now that people may have forgotten about. Hades. Hades is a pog generator because he has that heroic soul.
oh yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So he has like the
Oh,
heroic
yeah.
soul and what was the other one? There's another soul or whatever. He's able to generate those Pokemon. Suffering Soul. And then and this is the thing that's interesting is if you read his Doom's Doorway swings both ways. It says when a non-standard bystander character is KO'd. When a non-bystander character is pet KO, play say bystander token adjacent to Hades as described on this card. If that character was 100 points or less, the place bystander token is a suffering soul. Otherwise, it is a heroic soul, which against drones would be really awesome. against another
Yeah.
against another POG team, that would sort of suck. But at 235, that's a lot to pay for. Another one that I think a lot of people, I think it's not. Is it Mercury? Yeah, is the. It's I think is it Mercury or is he something else? What was his name? He had the
That deity
no the species he made
with the little,
medic pogs. Save set.
was that Hermes?
Hermes.
Was there a Hermes one?
Hermes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Hermes.
Yeah. Hermes makes pogs. Then you also have Rat King. You have Pied Piper. The list goes on and on about the
Vermin.
Vermin. Yeah, Vermin's pogs are actually really good. They are really good. And then, of course, our new lovely snack time overlord pizza place. He's making pods here soon. So I think the thing comes in is how are we mixing pods and how are we making new stuff with the pods? It's not just like Devil Dinosaur, Ant-Man, Penguin. Like, I I really do think it's a little sad. I know the ants are just dumb. And the way the Ant-Mans work with the ants, it's just dumb. I'm willing to yield that position to anybody. But some of these, there's some other pods in the meta to look at, and like Dr. Demonicus coming back up. I think that's another cool little like side note to look at.
There wasn't very many Dr. Demonicus at this last open or last rock. Surprisingly, there's only like one or two up there.
Yeah, and I think the main reason just comes down to is pog spam. Like people would rather have more quantity than quality. And I think that's part of the reason.
Yeah.
So with that, we have the pods in the pods integration right now. What other like I don't want to say like new hotness, but what's the other legitimate shifts that you all see in the meta right now? And I'll start with KJ since he always creates some interesting stuff.
The shift is going to be is Bizarre Green Arrow. I mean, is how it's basically he's absorbing all your hits. I mean, all from range attacks. I mean that's primarily how the game was really played. You're trying to basically get a hit in on somebody before they can get a hit in on you. So now you have a character who can absorb that hit. And with stop clicks behind it, can absorb it, up to 3 times. I mean, and in a 300-point match, really, if you really sit back and think about it, how many characters are you going to have on the board that can really, dish out that type of a damage to really destroy him? So, and while you're doing that, you're wasting action, and retaliation is coming right back at you. So I think that's going to be the elephant in the room right now. I mean, there's ways to get around it. On other podcasts they discussed it and things like that. But at the end of the day, you still are throwing grenades at this guy. Hopes to get rid of him. And then you're going to get hit back. So it's going to be interesting. I think that's the biggest one right now.
Okay. All right, Sarah, what new emerging thing do you think is going to be coming up?
I really see like Jakeem Thunder being played a lot. I mean, I know he's similar to Krang. I mean, he's 20 less points. He doesn't get the stat mods as what Krang does, but he still gets to pick those powers. And then if you're playing in non-limited, like a Whiskets Open or something, you can attach him to like Brainiac or something like that to give him like impervious, and then he gets to pick those 2 powers on top of it. That's what I see being played a lot. And then the Penguin, of course, with the Pog stuff, because those Pulse Wave Penguins are just sick. So.
Yeah. Okay, and I'll sort of chip in real quick, because the main thing that I see that is going to be a game changer for people right now is just barrier. I just think barrier.
Yeah.
Whether it's Green Lantern or the 25-point Poison Ivy, I think barrier is about to be the new hotness, and here's why. In particular, we're seeing a shift from like multiple attackers, and in terms of and I'm trying to put it as best as I possibly can. We're seeing a shift from multiple standard attackers to like one really big primary attacker, or when it comes to the Pog tech, we're looking at them trying to have to form Voltron to break down a wall. Okay, they gotta get their powers combined to summon Captain Planet, and that's a problem. And I mean, if you look at most of the pods, like you take the ants for example, you have to have Hank Pym on the field, and then have two other ants next to them so that they can have empower, so they can bust down a wall. That's a lot of work. And if I'm aware of that, I'm just like, I shoot one of your ants. Now you have two ants approaching, and you still have to spend an action to bust down my wall. You know, so I think barrier is going to start coming back, because if you're able, like with the crane tech, if you take out Justin and you have barrier, you win. You just win. And if you're on an indoor map, you just barrier crane. You just alternate barrier crane. The game's over. Crane can't get out. He's stuck. You know, you don't even have to deal with Crane. So I think,
especially on an indoor map.
Yeah, on an outdoor map, Crane picks flight, and then you have a problem. So people will be like, but if I lose map, then if I'm on arcade...
Well, doesn't the size thing come into effect on outdoor map too? If he's outdoor, he can just grow, and he shoots over your wall, and now barrier is mute.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying like indoor map. You want to keep on an indoor map. But the other thing is okay, he size grows. Let's just say he turns giant. He took a click of damage that he will not get a medic or anything else to heal him up that turn. So that's a little other element too. But even when you start talking about Jakeem, if Jakeem doesn't have the ability to keep attacking and attacking and attacking on an indoor map to bust down walls to stop barrier, eventually, as he's busting down walls and trying to hypersonic speed back, he's going to create his own problem. You know, he's going to get retaliated against. So I see there's a lot of like little problems just waiting to happen because of barrier being put out there. So Eric, what do you think is coming up in the meta right now? Like, what do you think is probably going to be one of the new game changers?
Well, for me, when I think of the meta, I look at pieces that are dynamic, pieces that are out in the current rotation. So, you know, we have the Crane. We've got BGA recently. He was pretty significant. Now we got Jakeem, Thunder, and, of course, we all know we've got Nick Fury. And you always have to be aware of those pieces. And you've got some Ant Tech to your Ant-Man Pog Tech. And these are just things you have to be aware of until you don't have to mine them anymore because they're recycled out, you know. So I think those are all significant, viable pieces. I'm not really seeing anything, you know, Mixoplex, he's a good piece too. Definitely someone you want to be aware of when you play and you see him because, you know, he could tie you up for a couple turns if a good player uses them right and gets those rolls in.
Yeah.
So...
You bring up Mixoplex, and we could sort of transition to sort of like looking at some of the more annoying things that we have to look at is like Mixoplex and Felix Faust. Like when we start looking at our control elements, those two things stand out like ridiculously. I know I've read enough teams that's like, and I play Felix Faust and I play Mixoplex. Now what else do I put on this team to try to win? I've seen stuff begin like that. Not necessarily turn out well, but begin like that. Like the control elements that are there I think are starting to get to that point of slightly annoying from slightly annoying to infuriating. Definitely with Faust. Faust is the extreme. But at least I would say Felix Faust is accessible. Mixoplex is accessible. The cost of Jakeem Thunder and BGA, they're not as accessible. But go ahead.
What do you mean by accessibility now? Like, at what point do you put the cap on a cost? Because there's always that secondary market, and if this is your hobby, if you don't smoke but you play HeroClix or other things, like all things are accessible on the secondary market.
It's like if you're not on that crack pipe, according to you, it's all accessible. Well, okay. Okay.
My bad.
All right. Anyway, when the host is laughing, I can't think of a response. But I think that's a legit issue. But like, let's just go back to Space Cadets. Like, there weren't a lot of Jakeems. There are some BGAs, but not a lot. I pulled mine, so that saved me $80. If I didn't pull mine, yeah, I would have spent $80 on a little plastic man that's trying to shoot himself with a very crappy bow and arrow. Uh, but for the average player, if we're automatically, players on our team are like, hey, what's going to change the meta? Piece number one, $80. Piece number two, 85 to $120, which is Jakeem, if you can find a Jakeem. I think that's an issue. It's just like with the ID cards. Like, you can sell a shield level 7 for 50. You can get a Nightwing card for like $60 to $80 worth of product or money. And I don't even want to ask like what the Atom ID card is going for. I think you have to like give blood and offer half your soul to get that.
Almost.
Okay, that's fair. Because, like, I know I don't have the Atom ID card or the Atom. And I thought about, like, is this something that I need to add to my collection to be pertinent in the current meta? Do I want to fill this in my team? Or I think, okay, this Jakeem Thunder keeps coming up, and he's going to be a good piece for a while. At some point, I probably want to consider getting him.
Well,
but do I need him right now?
And that's legit. And then I'll just have anybody else chime in, and I'll throw it to Sarah. Is this the ever never ending arms race, or is it more like Eric says, like, I'm not going to play this, so I'm not going to buy this?
I don't think it's like necessary. I mean, if you're playing like a Quinjet team, then I think it is. But like, I mean, if you're not playing a Quinjet team, I don't think it's like necessary to have it if you don't already have it.
Okay. KJ, hit me with your retort, man. Retort.
Actually, I'll probably on the other side. I think that, first of all, it is economics. It's supply and demand. That's exactly what it is. And the thing is, there's a lot of characters out there that are good. They're hot right now, and that's what's driving up the price. And therefore, if you don't have it, just like how you said to Jakeem Thunder, I was lucky enough to pull him also as well. But if you don't have them or you don't have access to them, and if you want to be competitive at a high level, you need to have those pieces. That includes the Atom ID card or the Atom or Nightwing, especially Nightwing, and the ID card. So in some cases, you need to have, you're going to either shuck out the money to pay for it, or you will have a good buddy or a good friend, or hint, hint, have good teammates that you can get on the phone and call and say, hey, man, I need this ID card. Can you hook it up? I don't know how many times y'all have shipped me stuff that came into my mail or may have came late, but, hey, you're able to get the piece that you need to be successful in what you're trying to play. So it kind of goes both ways. Either, A, you can go to secondary market, Evil Bay, or you can ask your friend or be lucky and pull it. So that's something that might be an episode you want to do. Is how to acquire great pieces without breaking the bank.
In the past, that required giving plasma, but
Yeah.
in some places, that's not the best option. It's like
and KJ brings up a good point. Like, you need to figure out what type of player you are. If you're an everyday, hey, local venues have an event, this is the bill, this is what I have, so this is my team's going to be limited to what I currently have, and that's it. And how aggressive you are? Do you like winning more than not winning? How much do you like winning to not winning? And are you competitive? Because if the answer is no and no, then you don't need this stuff until maybe after it's like 2 or 3 sets rotated out of the current I'm in game, the current game status. So, and then, the prices will hopefully have dropped depending on what type of special piece it is, and you can just play it at random. I don't really get it as much because I've acquired a lot of pieces, but I like going up to Golden Age events now and seeing if I get surprised by what I have to face when you can start combining all these things. I didn't like it when I first got into the game, the Golden Age, but I like it now.
Okay, I don't know any new player that likes Golden Age because
it's too fast.
Yeah, okay, taking a previous episode aside with the Flipper episode, when KJ and I were talking, and I was just like, what level of dark magical spells do you want to summon this time? And when it comes down to it, if you get it, it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that if I put this, and the other thing together, it's great. Like, I'm looking at my grand hero here, Beta Ray Bill from the Fast Forces. There are so many evil things that you can do with him now that wasn't even possible before. And if you build the right team, it's like you can't target my entire team. It's like, but you have, it doesn't matter if I'm in stealth or out of stealth. My whole entire team has stealth. You can't target my team. So it's like, you have to melee your team. Like, yes, you have to melee my team. But what can I draw? No, you can't target me, period. And it's annoying when you look at the person's face and they want to punch you because everything that you have is a mishmash between, oh my gosh, this guy has stealth and he's like a 8-year-old piece to Out of the Shadows Batman. Like the old dark magic, that's some fun stuff if you can get to go off. But I digress. So let's sort of talk about this. Okay, so the economics of a player. All right, team status aside, because we share pieces, so we're able to help each other out. Okay, if a person isn't on a team, what's the best standpoint to sort of come from if they're trying to be competitive? Because if you're listening to this show, you're trying to be competitive, and then we'll just sort of take it at like a local and rock level, not necessarily from a, like, I'm going to Worlds or Rocktober level, because that's, you got to pay to play. Like, if you go to Rocktober, you need to pay to play. So we'll take it from there, and I'll throw it at Mr. Accountant Budgeting himself, KJ. So we'll start there, and then I'll go to Sarah.
I think the first thing, and trust me, I was a new player once. We won't go into all those details, but I think the first thing you need to do is once you start playing and you've made your friends or people in which you can communicate with, borrow pieces from. I think the next thing you need to do as a store is collect and keep things in-house. I think that's the most important thing. And if somebody in the store is a collector, okay, one of the people that you're playing is a collector of heroclix. They want every single piece. That's the person you want to go to and be like, hey, can I borrow this piece for a particular tournament? But then you get a really good piece that affects a lot of money on eBay or on a trade that might get outside the store. The first one that comes to mind is Nighthawk Prime. When that piece came out, nobody had it. So now you need that for your team. Where are you going to get it? You're going to spend the $80 that it was on eBay? Okay? Or is it that one person that you could talk to say, hey, we need to keep this piece in-house so it's accessible to everybody who wants to play? So I think that's the most important thing of saving money is, A, being able to borrow pieces from people within your store, but keep all the pieces in-house. Make sure you have the whole entire set in-house at your venue. I think that's the best way of doing it. And then you don't have to worry about, trying to go find a Quinjet or going to try to find the Adam ID card or the Nightwing ID card or Jakeem Thunder or something like that. You have it in-house.
Okay.
That's the best way. That's the best way I look at it. And that's what I was able to do, you know, for a while, and for the most part, I still do that, you know. So I think that's the best way to do it. Try to keep everything in-house and know who has whatever, and beg, plead with them, bribe them. Maybe I shouldn't say that as an accountant, but bribe them to don't get rid of it. Don't get rid of it, you know. Whatever, you know, trade them. You know, that's another thing too. So if you got a super rare that you know is not worth anything really, right, and it's a double, give it to that person so they don't, you know, maybe they won't sell that piece. Like, hey, just hang on to it. You know, you gotta bribe a little bit, you know, just to keep everything in-house, and you have it be accessible to have it.
Okay. Sarah, what's your thoughts on the bottom report?
I agree with him wholeheartedly. Like keeping everything like local at your shop. If you and then if you like have a certain piece that you absolutely love and you just want to play test like just with that piece, just build around him and stuff. And then like if you pull any extras or anything like that, just trade locally. Like, hey, what's up? I've got this super rare Krang or whatever. It's an extra, so just trade for like pieces like your play style. Like I think that getting out, they need to realize like what their play style is. Like if they're aggressive or if they're just laid back, like throw barrier up or whatever. Then they need to have pieces like that are more towards their play style, and then also have access to the other type of play style. Like if they go to a rock event and they want to play like an aggressive team for once or something, they'll have access to those pieces at the local shop to play aggressively, just to practice a little bit before that rock event they go to or whatever. I just think they need to focus on like what kind of style they like to play, just beginning out. Because I know when I started, like I wasn't like an aggressive player. I was more like throwing up barrier, and then I started with that. A lot of the rocks I went to, I played that Hank Pym, the box set, Morphing Ants. So I had like a ton of those. And then if anybody needs to borrow them, I would let them borrow them, whatever. But I think it's just figuring out your play style first, just beginning out.
Yeah. All right, Eric. What's your economics of getting the figures?
Man, like I almost don't even want to say because people that own shops are probably going to want to kill me. But the way I look at it is, like for me, I don't do sealed events anymore. That's a decision that I made shortly after War of Light, where I don't even want to tell you how much I spent to not have a full collection. And then before that, it was Fear itself. And after that, I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is affecting every other aspect of my life. And I still don't have all the pieces. So, especially the entities, right? I'm still missing like about 3 of them. So the way I do it is, of course, I use a secondary market. You know, if you have patience, you can wait to get nearly complete set. Like it's very common to find like a very economical commons, uncommons, rare, maybe even if you're lucky, super rares, all packaged together, and they'll cost you about the same as if you went and bought like 3 or 4 little boosters. And it's like, well, there you go. Now, on the flip side, you can't play sealed anymore, but then you don't have to almost worry about having extra plastic. And that's significant because, like, for me, I've got all this extra plastic that I haven't unloaded yet. Like I'm hoarding. But some people can't understand why I have that extra plastic, so you don't want to deal with that either. So, again, eBay, just wait on it. And then for me, like, you know, I do some other things. I go out to dinner, I run, I do 5Ks, but I play this. Like, I don't smoke cigarettes, and I don't do very many other things. You know, I serve my country on 1 weekend a month, you know. And that's, like, what I consider a hobby. So this is my hobby. So when it comes to investing in it, it's like, well, this is like my advice and what I do. You know, I don't go to the casino and gamble. Nothing against that. If you could do both, all the better. But that's the way, like, I think about it. So if I drop $60 on one figure, it's not as big a deal. But I try not to do that, like, repeatedly. Or if I do, you know, you budget it. Like, for instance, there's an event coming up next month at one of my venues, or 2 of them, for Spider-Ham. And I thought about it. They're going to do a sealed event, both of them. So what, usually a sealed for 2 boosters is going to be just over $20, right, guys? Because they're about 12 to 13. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, I can do that. And historically, I know myself, I'm not a strong sealed player. Like, unless I get a God pack, it's just kind of like, I hate not being in control of your team build completely. Like having fate decide it. So I have to think to myself, well, I could try to play, and hope that maybe, some other not so strong players show up so there's no competition. I'll just be real, no competition. Maybe the kids show up on this one particular venue. I come through, handle my business. Or I could say, hey, can I get Spider-Ham for $25 on eBay, for instance, or on the Facebook thing, which I've done a couple times, and save myself the grief. Because let's say I don't get Spider-Ham on that first tournament, then I got to go do the second. Now it's only over $50 for a maybe.
Yeah, but then also you maybe pull a super rare and a prime.
Then you got to hustle and sling those things. Like I'm not a hustler like that.
Okay, all right, I'm going to be 100. Everybody that's listened to this show knows how much I hate sealed, but I love teams because you buy like 6 boosters. So, but even then, truth be told, you can still get crap out of that. Like anybody who's been on my teams, on my 3v3 teams knows, you can still pull crap out of 6 boosters because somehow, some way that happens.
It's entirely possible, dude. I'm tired of looking at the front of the package. Is that the one that you need to get? The one that has the Wonder Woman on front, because those are the ones that. No, I'm done with that. Done.
Well, Eric. Eric, let me say this. I feel your pain on War of the Light. I'm a Green Lantern fanatic. Okay, this is a true story. I'm just going to tell the truth. I played in 6 events a month in War of the Light for the entire 6. Was it 6 months? Was it? Yeah. I spent so much money. I earmarked. Hear me when I say this. I earmarked a budget just for War of the Light.
Jesus.
That's how bad it was.
I was at about 3. And here's the other part. At the time, I had another half that I would pay for too, trying to tag team it. So it was like double for each event.
Oh gosh, the significant other hustle is real. Okay,
I understand
because the one guy plays, and then you're just like, please let me play the girlfriend. Please let me play the boyfriend that doesn't play. It's like, yes, free wins.
Oh, the struggles. They have the little starter pack that comes with the Green Lantern battery, right, and the ring and the shield.
Mm-hmm.
I got that, and then she was like, "Well, I want one too." I'm like, "You need one?" Fuck. Okay, let me go get this.
Oh gosh, no, but okay, and Eric sort of reflects how I am now. Like, before, when I was working at ADT years ago, I was like, buy a brick, buy random packs, then trade with the local people. And then after a while, the local people were like, so Edward, why do you really want this one uncommon? And it's like, because I want him for my list. I have a list here. And it's like, what does he do? What does he do, Edward? Why am I going to let you have a mega weapon? And it's like, because I like the figure. I just want the figure. And it's like, Edward, we might have to add that 0.5 tax onto there. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh.
Here you go. And then later on, it's like, I gotta turn this into something now, because just to make them feel regret for trading me. And then it's like, again, every time I bring something in there, back then, it was like, so Edward, what does this really do? And then now, I'm just like, CUR, eBay, like, check it off. And even now, not even with the CURs, like I just said, like, I'm not using half of that. I'm like, these 8 figures here, these super rares there. There you go, I'm done. But yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's the thing, like the bartering. Like, I found that at least at the venues I went, like the bartering was not easy. Especially, I mean, when you start getting with a bunch of guys who they decide, hey, okay, here's how I'm going to stand to allocate my money. I'm going to buy 2 or 3, bricks or boxes, and now it's like, well, what don't you have? Like, why am I even trading with you? Or they're going to try to get you to trade something that you want to keep because they're missing that one thing. And I'm like, but wait, that's the only one I have. I don't trade onesies. I need that onesie.
Right.
Oh gosh, that's the best phrase ever. Someone's gonna turn that into a ringtone. I need the ones. No, but okay, you bring that up. I have a side rule. My side rule is that I don't trade anything I buy off of eBay. Like straight up. Like I if I bought it off of eBay, I don't trade it. If I pull it, I'm willing to trade it. But if I buy it off of eBay, I'm not trading it. And that's like time has progressed. I realize like I have a horde of clicks that I most likely am not going to trade until they like about to rotate. And then I'm like, eBay, you go. But let's sort of move on. And since we're sort of talking about it, we might as well just naturally just sashay over to it. Are OP events worth it? Like, are they really slop now? Because back in the day, if you did an OP event, it was like, wow, this stuff is sort of worth it a couple of months afterward. But now it's just like, why am I here when I just need to like wait this out, get what I need off of eBay, and then wait until the event is over and buy like the complete set from the guy that played the entire event for like a third or a quarter of what he paid. Like
He's got extra. Give up off of it, homie.
How many radioactive mans does he really need? That's so bad. But I know, like for me, we were having like a casual night, and I looked at how many Civil War Ironmans from the slop thing, which they should have thought of a better acronym than slop. I looked, I'm like, I can feel the force of a bunch of low point Ironmans. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, no, that's just completely stupid. And here's the worst part. I said to myself, but it would justify all those purchases I made. For a brief moment, I'm like, yeah, that would justify all the purchases I made. Forgetting that Iron Man isn't really that great. But he is better than Captain America. You pick him over everybody else. But yeah, like has anybody else feel like that the slops are slop? Like it's not worth it? And I'll start with Sarah, because you come from a multiple perspective of working and living in the comic book retail industry.
Yeah. Well, from the actual retail standard, then I think it's worth it because it helps supports the local shop, and stuff like that. But from a player perspective, I don't think it's as worth it because you can just get the pieces and stuff like that, either from other players or online or whatever. But from a retail a retail perspective, I think it's worth it. But I mean, it just depends on what perspective you're looking at it. Which most people are going to look at it as a player's perspective, hey, I don't want to spend the extra money when I can use it for these other pieces or stuff like that.
Yeah. I won't front. I will buy Fast Forces first from my local store. I will
Yeah.
do Fast Forces, and then if you get WizKids, if you have given me another Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. type thing where there's a 15-point little monkey or droid or freaking little Casper the Friendly Ghost that allows me to either perplex, prob, or empower and enhance my characters like steroids, and they're not unique, I will fully buy multiples. But until that happens, I buy one Fast Forces each time. That's the only thing I'll buy from the store, really, because and then
Yeah.
But
Sarah, I didn't realize that that you're at the store. No, I'm the same. I get my Fast Forces from the store, and I do the little poker chip things as well. Even though I don't play them, because I'm always afraid that somebody will try to use the same as mine, and I'll swipe mine or I'll lose it, and they'll be like, okay, whose winner soldier poker chip is this? I'm like, it's my winner soldier poker chip, dude. Back up.
Step back.
So,
Step back. I paid good money for that. Okay. So what do you think about the slop events, Eric?
You do it if you want to, or if you can. Like, some of the pieces I think are pretty cool or unique, and if you get a chance to win them that way, I think it's cool. That's really about it.
Like, no other insight. All right, KJ, throw
Period.
it down. Throw it down for us.
Well, for me, is pretty simple. Are the pieces in the what do you call them, the OPE events, are they going to be playable? That's the number one thing for me.
Yeah.
With the exception of War of the Light, because I am a Lantern fan, so that's different. But we can go down the list. Here's so. There really was only one good piece in there, and that was Loki. Okay, they have some other. Let me finish. Split Lip, okay. Split Lip was good also as well. But I'm talking about from the event itself. Not something you have to buy into the event, just the event itself. You're only going to get one or two characters in there that's going to be very, very good, for the most part. So the question you begin to ask is, do you pay the $30 each wave or each month, and you end up playing 4 months? And if my math is correct, that's about $120, 30 times 4. All right. So what could you actually got those pieces for the $120? That's the question you begin to ask yourself. Could you have received the complete common, uncommon, rare, and then the one or two super rares or chase, whatever it may be, for that $120? Or less than $120. If the answer is yes, then you have to ask yourself, it's not really worth it. I mean, if you look at the last one we just had with Civil War, I mean, Civil War is a great example. Well, I mean, really, the pieces that were really, really good was the Taskmaster. The other one was the two, what do you call them, Neymar, if you want to put him up there.
Yeah, he's.
Or you want to put.
You're not pulling him.
Right. Or there you go. I mean, or who were the other two? It was the Iron Man and the Captain America with the stop clicks everywhere.
But again, you're not pulling them.
Right. So we're not pulling those. So now what pieces in there were really, really good? Taskmaster. So is it worth playing $120 for Taskmaster? I mean, that's how it is.
Well, when you put it that way.
I mean, we can go down the list. I mean, I'm going to exclude War of the Light because I am an addict. I mean, seriously, my wife will tell you, I love lanterns. I have an abundance collection of lantern stuff. Let's just put it to you that way. So that's a different one. I mean, I got to get treatment for that. But all the other ones, come on, no. No. You're going to pay all that. So I may play in one, or I may play in or two of them, but I don't play in the whole entire series. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I think we sort of touched on a point that really does hit home. Is really nothing has been like War of Light, and in a while, and I think that's one main reason that they sort of toned down the OP events is that if you didn't have access to the OP events, you were going to get slaughtered by the OP event characters. Like, there were so many meta level characters from War of Light. Like, off the top of your head, you're like Sodom Yacht, Despotellis, John
Kyle
Stewart,
Rayner.
Kyle Rayner, Catman to Spectre, both Spectres. Like there was so much stuff out of that set. You're just like, oh my gosh. Even the bad stuff like Orisa, you would still be like, I can sort of play Orisa on a casual night.
Oh, she's definitely playable. And the bad thing is, if you want to stay current with the current meta, like, and you're not playing, you're gonna have to come out of the pocket. You don't have an entity. You're not playing War Light.
Oh yeah.
And it's actively going on. You're gonna have to pay, dude. Got to pay to play.
But let me say this right here. What WizKids did, in my opinion, they did it correctly with War of the Light. What they did is they put all the good pieces but you had to pull them. Okay? So that forced everybody, just use the word force, everybody to participate in the events. Because all the good pieces, you pulled them. It wasn't on the back end, like you said, prize support, but you had to participate to get them. That's what makes the OP events good. All right, so if you put them in there so you have to pull them, you will get more participation, and you will get more people playing in them. And I think WizKids might have got it wrong afterwards, because if they stayed with the same format with War of the Light, you would have everybody and their grandmother trying to participate in this event. And during some events.
I'll jump in with Cajun and say that was the case. We had a lot of players around my area, players that hadn't played in a long time, so they're like on those old school rules. They're like, what entities? They're like, what is this new hypersonic rule or something, or plasticity? And it's just like, all right, read the player manual one more time. Like, they come out of the freaking from under rocks to play, and it's like, okay, nice to meet you. Learn this freaking game again. Okay.
Right.
It's like, hello. We have new technology now. We can instantly make your food. It's like, I'm used to cooking my food. Not like, no. That barbarism.
Having brain aneurysms and stuff. I'm like, dude, it's going to be okay.
It's the future.
But there's one more thing that I'll say that WizKids kind of missed this on, too. So let's go back for a second. So if you put all the good pieces in the OP sets, that forces the player to buy or participate in order to obtain them. The second thing that you can't do, which I thought this was comical though, is you can't put outside pieces and make them so exclusive that you can't get them, such as the constructs and the actual other batteries. Because what's the use of really pulling a red laddering ring if you don't have a battery to put it in?
Oh, don't even get me started on that. I am a staunch, like, if I pay money for an event, we're playing to the T of the rules, okay? Like, don't bring no Red Lantern battery and have a Green Lantern ring on it and then say, hey, like, I didn't have, no, there's no sympathy here. I've got all the lanterns. Like, I paid money to come correct, okay? Oh, no, you don't get the spectrum. Like,
okay.
It's been plenty of time.
You talk about that. But for a while, like, some of the rings were stupid expensive. They were like $15, $20 a ring. Like, the Indigo in particular was one.
Oh, my Lord.
And Star Sapphire. Star Sapphire was dumb. But in like full, like, honesty, like, this is the one thing with WizKids where I felt like they got it half right and half wrong. Like, the lantern should have been, like, right at the beginning of the event. You shouldn't have dropped that crap halfway through. Like, look, wave 2, fool. Here's some lanterns. I bought all of the lanterns straight up from my local
Me too.
store. I dropped that. I put that $100 bill, that C note, on the table, and I was like, "Take my money, please." And I just took them, and then I stared at them in the car, and I'm like,
Of course you did.
That nerd moment. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Dude, I still haven't even opened my White Lantern, Black Lantern pack yet. It's still, like, in the plastic.
No, I got mine from Gen Con. And I thank Howard Brock for buying it for me, because he allowed me to use that for my team that year. Thank you, Howard Brock. I appreciate you.
I have all my lanterns in my office on my desk. And when people come walk in, they know, oh, even, I won't say what city I work for, but even the mayor just came into my office and said, "Oh, you're a Lantern fan. I didn't know they had that many lanterns. How many of them?" First of all, she came in to talk about the budget. Okay, and the conversation led to 15 minutes on lanterns. Okay, trust me, everybody knows I'm a lantern person.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, when all said and done, like, that's how you run an OP event if you want my money. Like, you put all this, you set it up ahead of time. It's like, here's the set, here's the dumb resource that we're introducing. This is, you get to play with it from the beginning. You can buy it. There's a limited, amount that we're making worldwide. Here's the allocations. Get to cracking. You will have me day one with my money, wave it in the air, saying me next. I have mine on reservation. But WizKids is on that stuff. They keep smoking that crack. Because it seems to me like they don't get that. Like, that seems to be like rule one of marketing. Like, let people know what the allocation is and that there's limited supply and you have everything at the beginning and then people will, throw their money at it. But, again,
Right.
just some guy on the internet.
Well, they kind of did, if you remember, they kind of did it that way with Fair Self. Is they gave you the resource first,
Yeah.
and then as you participated, you got extra hammers. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. For each event.
Right. So, yes, I think that's how you should do it. But I will say this right here, and I hope WizKids, I know they want to make it available to everyone by putting the roundtables for sale. But I think they should have all resources. If they're going to introduce them, they should be always introduced in OP sets. And they should be given away as participation prizes. Okay? And that will force the people to come in. Very similar to how they did how they did Fear Itself. And now it forces you to come in and get it. You're like, okay, I want it. Now, what's all the rest of the components that go to it? And that's how it works.
True.
I think they also did it for Phoenix. Was it the Phoenix Force? Yeah, that's how you
Did they
do
do
it.
that with the Infinity Gauntlet? Didn't they do it with that too?
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
Infinity Gauntlet was dirty because the moment that you got the next piece of the Infinity Gauntlet, you could play it. So, like, if you had the Friday venue, you would get the first piece at the Friday venue and then go to the Saturday venue and then slaughter people. Like, you had to have rules, like you couldn't use the next relic for the Infinity Gauntlet before that venue played for it. Because that's how I like, murdered people at the second event that I went to because of the stupid little team I made with Pulse Wave Black Bolt that does a full lock 4 damage for a double power action.
Oh, the scroll?
No.
Yeah.
No, not
You're able to pull that off?
The full Black Bolt. Not Scroll Black Bolt. Scroll Black Bolt was your mercenary for hire. The full Black Bolt was, I just want to Nova Blast people and remind them of the past.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the evilness.
I've always wanted to do that. I've never been able to do that. Like, between him and the Human Torch, it's like, oh, they don't have willpower, so he's going to push, and then, okay, now I got a TKM out there, and it's like,
No.
Never pulled off.
Old school meets new school. You put the Wrath Relic on him. There you go.
There you go. But you bring up a good point about venues, because a lot of venues, like, if they're good too, they'll really control it. Like, they'll start taking accountability of players. Like, all right, Eric, you're here these last two, so you can use, like, your starter kit hammer that you bought from us and, like, whatever, mocks and skirns or whatever, because that's what we put out. Or they'll say, oh, you weren't here last week, you can't use the hammer that was given out. At least around Phoenix, that was going on a lot. And same thing with the War of Light. So that was the other downside of trying to only play at one venue and then kind of half-see-tipsy going to the other one, is that they might mess with your stuff and be like, no, you can't use that. In some cases, people are like, no, you can't even use your Green Lantern here. I was like, well, that's really discouraging. But, I mean, true to the players that showed up, all 4 of them that made it this week. But
yeah, that's a whole different other subject. we won't go into that because we all have our dark.
Fair enough.
We have our dark tales of what happens at some venues. So let's sort of like navigate and it's not like the meta podcast I thought it was going to be. I think it just turned into like how to make HeroClix great again. Brought to you by Edward Sheldon. Be your next HeroClix president, whether you like it or not.
How to make them cheap again.
How to make HeroClix possible. Stop making this crap in China, please. Because the glue. Side note, I'm getting pissed off with HeroClix with the manufacturing because like for the last 3 to 4 sets, like the glue has been ghetto. Like not even in making it out of the package good. So I've just been frustrated with that. Like, oh, I opened the package and it's clear that my figure has come off. Yet my figure from Superman is still on his base. It's like, what the heck? Like the Superman set, several years old, still on his base. This new stuff can't last like half a month, and then it's off the base. So that's
true.
Bad.
Oh, you had a haha Joker like that? Well, anyway, but so anyway, going on with the cast. The next question is like how to make venues better, like not necessarily just receptive to meta because that's pandering, but how to make venues really better. Since we've gotten to this we have meta players on, we're not talking about meta. We might as well just talk about making the game better.
Jeez, you got it in there. You got a whole nother hour for this show, dude.
I'll allocate another 30 minutes.
No, that's fair. Can I start this off?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll start off. So, in my humble opinion, I think that venues, the judges who create the events for the venues, they gotta be really restrictive. And I hate using that R word, restrictive, but that's really what it comes down to when they come to creating and thinking about events. Because you don't want the power players like some people coming through and smashing people that are new to the game and discouraging. Now, to me, that's hard to say in some degree because as a person who grew up playing chess against my dad never let me win a game. I didn't beat him until I was in my mid-20s at chess. I had to take it for years straight and earn my W against him. So that's the mentality I bring to this game. But I also know that it's discouraging when you're a new player and let's just say they do like a golden and you go in there and all you got is probably the modern stuff or maybe something from a couple old sets that you bought on eBay beforehand. And you show up and you got Chase Thanos pulling your figures across the board and then capturing your pieces. It's like, what the hell is going on here? Like, I didn't even get to play. So, and then you're not having fun. And the and the whole point of this is you like to win, people like to win, but they want to have fun too. And I understand that aspect of it. And I think if you play a game, there have been games that you can lose, and it's like, I lost, but it's no different than a good football game when, like, one team just isn't getting blown out. Like, it's like 34-31 to the end, you're into it. And that's a good competitive spirit. But when you don't have restrictions, then you're going to get nasty combinations, which are interesting and beautiful in some way because people being creative, they're going to come out and make it so that you're maybe not even rolling dice for a good 45 minutes. And if you face two teams like that in a row, then there goes your Saturday, your one day or maybe two that you had to go out and play the game that you paid money for to try to, like, have some fun, So restricted, I'm a big fan of theme teams. When I first got into the game, I was bringing my cute little X-Force with cable teams there, and I was getting slaughtered. I was just kind of like, what the heck is going on? And it kind of took people to say, well, these are the elements a team needs to be a good, conducive working team. So part of it is strategy and team build, understanding that as a new player. But then he also is, like, not going up against things that are super OP, that you're just kind of like, oh, my God. So I'd say put on the restrictions. Theme teams, Highlander, go about your life. Big advocate for those, personally.
All right, I'm going to come in with the strong counter. I am full, like, bring forth the warfare, cry havoc, unleash the dogs of war, like, bring it. Now, here's why I say that. Having run a venue as a judge and having players just be like, ho, 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 everything's fine, I'm great. And then, like, a major event happens, like, well, pre-OP events, when they were just big events, like coming of Galactus and coming of Starro. You just see the sharks and the dinosaurs and the mecha, just the mecha pilots come in and then bringing the Zords down and stomping your locals, and you're like, oh my gosh, everything's not fine, and then you're trying to like put out fires, and so I look at it as let everybody understand, hey, casual days. Like, I'm fully for casual days. And I've said it on the show before, like, yo, if you have house rules, don't come at me like you're hard in the streets with heroclix, okay, if you have house rules. Because you're not. You're not playing the game as it is. You're playing the protective fence version of the game. When it comes down to it, and you want to be like, I'm going to rock. I'm a great player. I'll be winning all the games here. Like, no, you're about to get stomped. You don't even have to meet Easton Brock. You just have to meet the guy that went to his third rock. You meet that guy, okay? Once you meet, because y'all know, we meet the guy who went to his third rock. Because here's the evolution. He went to his first rock. He was like that previous guy I was talking about. Everything's fine. And then that got beat out of him because he went 0-4. Then he went to his second rock, and he's like, never again. And he plays what he thinks is meta, and he goes 2-2. The third rock, he's like, you know what? I thought things out. I'm ready to kill somebody this time. That guy's scared because he encounters that new player. He's going to be like, I remember that face. I had that face once. Now I want you to feel how I felt. And then he'll find like 15 ways to skewer that guy. Where one of us will just be like, well, I just killed you. I didn't try to torture you. I was like, I just killed you. Okay, cool. Like, hey, my name's Edward. Let's have fun and talk about heroclix. But that guy from the third rock, that's the guy that you don't want to deal with. So
mixing it up.
So I think there's a mix-up, and I'll say this too as a person. I've been on the show. I've burned one of my venues down like 4 times, like literally down to like 2 players because, yeah, you're right. Like you need some buffer, but we rebuild it. We made it stronger. So Sarah, go ahead, chime in. I know I'm on the extremes, so you get to come in here.
Well, I think, like if there's a newer player or something like a local at the shop, and you like you're competitive and you go to these rocks and stuff, I think you should just kind of teach them, not really like teach them your ways of playing and stuff, but like kind of sit down and just give them like the basics if they're like brand new. And then like at our shop we have like events every Friday, and basically what happens, like we generally have like 12 to 15 players that show up, and like the winner of each event makes up the rules for the next Friday event. So it's like really competitive because they make like these competitive teams that they could bring to like rocks and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I usually sit there and like judge it and stuff like that. So like on those events, I just let them like run free, like, like cutthroat everything, But like on Thursday, we have like casual events, and that's just when they just come in and like, hey, you want to play a game? And that's when if I'm up there at the shop, I'll be like, hey, if you're new, I'll sit down and play a game, like kind of, let them build teams, like, hey, that might not be a good way to go about it. And then, like, good sportsmanship, like, when you're at these rocks and stuff, like, I don't think people realize, like, how they say things sometimes. They're like, man, I shouldn't have done, like, the attitude they have. Like, I think they need to have more good sportsmanship towards other players and stuff. Like, if they lost a game, they shouldn't be, like, throwing the dice down and all that stuff. Like, I've seen a lot of that here recently when they, like, lose a game or whatever. Like, hey, it was a good game. Like, you could have done this a little bit better or something similar to that. So
kudos on that, Sarah. I agree with the sportsmanship.
Yeah, I'm We know about that at the show. About all other stuff. Okay, KJ, you get to chime in. You have a
All right.
perspective on
Sportsmanship, huh? Sportsmanship, that would be a good one to talk about. Okay.
Flipping tables.
It's call them flippers. But okay. Okay. Right. All right. No. Okay. No. Here's what should happen at a store. On a serious note, I think it's really in the event coordinator, whoever's creating the events, to really focus on the formats. Now, here's what I think, and this is purely my opinion. I think you should have some type of element, whether it's 300, 400 points. I'm going to leave point value out of it, that allows you to utilize all the elements in the game. Okay, all of them, whether it's from a modern standpoint or for a Golden Age standpoint. And that should be focus of like 1 week. I think the second week, I'm just put them out of weeks. So like it's a 300-point modern game that you can use like a World Championship play. The next week, I think it should be more relaxed, where it's theme teams, no resources, or something to the effect of that. The third week, you would come back and say, hey, maybe it's limited. No figure bigger than a peanut base, okay? And then like the fourth week, let's say it's more open play. Hey, so therefore, that would give opportunities for your newer players to see and experience high-level play using everything in the game. And it gradually tones its way down. It's like every week they can see something different. I'm not a fan of scenarios, okay? However, at our venue, we're going to go down that road. But when you start doing different things, and it's not always, people use the word competitive and meta. It really is not about that. It's really about skill level of the player and how it's applied to that game. Okay. So, example, if one of us played a beginner, we could be playing with commons. Just we could be playing with that Ninja Turtle box set. Okay, that's a good one. Right. We could be playing with that, and to a new player, we're going to look like we're supreme. But we're going to play that meta. You know what I'm saying? So it's really about just toning down the formats that you have. And allow everyone to gradually get a piece to learn and more and more. And I think if more stores did that, you would have more and more people playing the game, and then you won't have bad sportsmanship because the veteran players will teach the inexperienced players how to play at a better, how can I say, make them become experienced. Let's say it that way. But as for sportsmanship, I would just sit back and say, everybody, win, lose, or draw, should shake the other person's hand, and that's it. That's how it should be. I mean, I've lost to some great players in the game of heroclix, and I can guarantee you, all of them will sit back and say, hey, that my sportsmanship was on par or how it should be. Hey, even if I got a bad ruling, they'll always say, hey, he's a good guy. And that's how it should be.
Yeah. And see, here's the thing where locally, I appreciate my guys locally because we do sort of do what KJ's talking about, where they'll help me get ready for rocks, and I appreciate that about my local venue. They'll support me, and because of that, they've gotten a lot better. But at the same time, like after 2 weeks of helping me, like, okay, we're playing casual, and I'm like, all right, cool, and then my version of like, I'm not trying hard is like a whole different level than everybody else's I'm not trying hard. And so I come in with like, okay, I'm not wearing like the full Iron Man suit, but I got like the mega power glove on. And then they're sitting there looking at me. I'm like, yes, the mega power glove. It's just the mega power glove, guys. And then they're just like, no, that's not how it's happening. It's not how it's happening. Yeah, it's
I
like,
feel you, Ed.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, I'm casual, and then it's like, no,
Do you ever get the sense that you can't turn it off, per se? Like, you know how many grief I get? If I show up to a venue with a Nick Fury, oh, my God, you would think. I was like, it's just Nick Fury. Like, it's just a Shield theme team, no Quinjet. I'm 100 points down. Like,
Oh, God. Okay, side note. Eric told me a story the other day. He ended up building a team, and pretty much, you built it like 100 points down. You didn't know it. And you went 2-1 and lost in the finals only because the other guy was slow playing and you were helping him because he was a newer player.
to a roll-off, yes. New player, slow player.
And it's a roll off. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my gosh.
I did that one time. I came in and I had a team that was I would use the word craftily put together. And
I feel you.
Right, and recognized that the team that I had was severely overpowered. And it was, we'll just say severely overpowered. So what we did is we said, okay, we'll play melee. And I did not like melee at all. And so they went 2 against 1 on me, and it was for 3 rounds. I still won.
Nice.
It was a 500-point team, and it was 3 rounds. And seriously, I beat both teams in the melee. Hey, I mean, like there was no pieces left on the board, and these guys can play. These weren't no rookies, right? Yeah. So, but again, it goes back to what I said. We need to have, as you know, you touched on a good point. We all know there's some characters that some pieces in heroclix that are, they're overpowered. Just plain and simple for their point cost. What I do is I will bring one of them and play it, but then I never bring it back. Not against my guys. Okay, I won't. I played Nighthawk Prime once. Only brought it out one time. Bizarro Green Oil once. Never brought it again. Joaquin Thunder once. Never bring it again. And so you want to have a feel of it. People want to, they want to see how it's played, see how it's played well. That's good. But, just, if you don't keep bringing those pieces, mind you, these aren't major tournaments, so, the prize support is not, the one that I need to have on my shelf. But if you just play, bring them out there one time, they're going to bring their stuff out one time, but say, hey, let's keep it moving. Let's not play the same thing every single time, and it'll be okay. Now, I'm not going to put anybody out there, but I'm going to give a scenario of what happened, and when they hear this podcast, they'll know who they are. I knew a player at one point that played during War of the Light. He luckily attained all of the entities, okay? And at every venue, he brought all the entities. And this is before the errata. Remember, you could get DT? Right. That he strategically put all the entities out there on the board and assigned the characters to play at 400 levels. And, of course, he won all the time. People didn't like him for it. But after you put him over to the side and say, hey, we try to keep everybody here, he was gracious enough not to play all 4. He about to play 2. But that's how it goes. So it goes back to the event person. Just pull the person over to the side and say, hey, you're a good player. We understand that you don't have to play super duper every single time. And, for the most part, they'll do it. Off the record, when the podcast is over, I'll tell you who the person is.
Fair enough. Well, I would like to add, with this game, this isn't a game like people. The onus is on each individual to learn how to play the game, to try to be as familiar with the rules as they can. And to be honest, that's kind of a daunting task. Like when you first get the game, whenever you get a rule book, you open up the rule book by itself, and what is it, like 25 pages or something like that?
Yeah.
30 pages
Yeah.
that you have to read. You know how much people don't like reading these days. I don't even like reading my college books if I don't have to. People don't like reading, but I had to read that rule book myself. I've read it a good 15 to 20 times from back to front, and I probably still need to go back and read it, or whenever they want to put out a new rule book that's current, and I'll have to read that another 5 times to understand it, because I don't know everything. They get a pack, so now they got to read, and they have to memorize a bunch of stuff. Like, it's daunting. That's why when you go to most venues, you don't see any children playing with these little plastic toy figures. Like, you would think. People that would come over and visit my place, they would think, what the hell? Like, hey, these ain't for kids. Okay, this ain't a kid's game, okay? This is for an adult that has a job, okay?
This is not.
And if they got a kid, they can throw that in there. But this is not for the faint of heart. So, and even me, you know, I've played at I've been to WKOs and I've been to Rocks. Like, I still don't understand all the rules and all the interactions. I don't know if everybody does. It's always like, how does this work? It's not intuitive. It's not straightforward, which is a downfall of the game. If they could simplify it and make things intuitive and clear, that would be great. But they're probably not. So with new players coming in, they have to understand that this is a journey of learning within this game alone that they're going to undertake. And if they don't have the patience or the time for that, then collect the figure and don't play the game. And I hate to be so hard like that, but, I mean, that's just right now the nature of the game.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I would say to piggyback off that, and it's really about the teacher, the person who's teaching them the game. And, you know, I take pride in, you know, that portion of it. Here's a powers and abilities card, even if you don't have the rule book. I keep 3 or 4 of them in my bag, and I give one of them to the newer player. The first thing I say is study that. You need to know it by, like, the back of your hand. And then, you start teaching tricks of the trade. Okay, you want to have a person who has running shot with penetrating psychic blast, you know. And so now it's gravitating them to figures that will be viable for a tournament they can come into. So, and showing them how to deal damage, you know, that type of stuff. Even if you lose, but you can deal damage, that's like a notch on their belt, okay? And then finally, after they deal enough damage, they KO a piece. Then after they KO a piece, they KO a couple pieces. And before long, they'll KO a whole team, and they got their first win. Okay? And then now they start to build and build and build upon it. So I think that's how it's how we teach the newer players, and that's how we build the game. And we can't just go in there and teach them how to do, you know, what's the frogman and mixer-plix tech day one, right? You know, I mean, those type of things. But on the flip side, it is teaching them gradually, and also tell them you're not going to build Rome in one day. Okay, a lot of us. I mean, I had a big head. I'm not going to lie. I was going to win the world championships by year 2. I literally said that at one point. Okay, hey, that's before I even met any of you guys. Not knowing I had to run through some of you guys. What? I mean, no, Edward can tell the story. I mean, I thought I was coming in. I was going to win the world championship. You couldn't tell me nothing different. And what ended up happening is you recognize quickly there's somebody that's bigger and better than you. So, and it's a humbling experience, but it makes you get back on the grind to learn the tech and learn the rules, learn the little nuances of the game.
Now, I'll sort of jump in and I'll throw it to Sarah. When it comes to that developing that player base, the one thing I will say, like with my local guys, is they've gotten to the point now where they're doing things on their own. They're able to build things up on their own, and then it's like, okay, now I need some polish. And a lot of people don't have enough patience to be to actually tell people tricks because they're afraid that they're going to lose that little LE that's worth $10 on eBay. Like,
Right.
And I find it interesting, like, if you take stakes out of this game, how would you play? Now, I'm not going to front. I probably wouldn't change much of what I play. Like, I'm not going to front.
No.
I like winning. Like, it's a hell of a drug. You know, it's like, okay, forget what Rick James' problem. I have a different problem. You know,
I'm with you.
Put Charlie Sheen on the background, and we can go from there. Okay, and so like I like winning. I like heroclix and I like winning. You know, I like superheroes and I like winning. So I wouldn't change too much of what I play. But at the same time, I don't have a problem teaching other people how to win. Because to me, beating weak people just means that you are less weak. Like, and I think that's where, like I talked about the thread last week about the gentleman that KJ you know, and that whole debacle. And I said, it's like, look, you know, there's this fear of competition. And you have to sort of tell folks, like, look, you can go compete. You're not going to die from this. Like, all that stuff you're feeling, no. That's how your survival instincts are there to protect you from the saber-toothed tiger and, you know, the wildebeest coming at you. Okay? That's not heroclix, so you need to flush that. And when you start seeing, when people understand, like, oh, okay, and they deal with their nerves, they're a lot cooler people. But I like the people that I've seen that are like grade A douchebags in the game. Like, I mean, the flip the table, want to punch you, call you ratchet, all this other stuff. Those people, they like have about to have a heart attack after playing a game of heroclix. One example is, you know, Will Holland told me about a story, you know, technically about almost over a year ago now, where he went to go visit his mom, play some heroclix. The dude's huffing and puffing and sweating, and Will almost beats him with playing like all the kaiju, and he's playing a shield team, and the guy's like, no one's ever come close to beating me with kaiju, and he's like, oh yeah, I lost, and he's like, I'm going to quit this game. I've been threatened and proved that I am not as invincible as I once was. It's just like, really? It's like you found out the world wasn't flat all of a sudden, and now you're just like, oh my gosh. So it's when you take it to that level, that's when I'm like, yo, chill, man. Like, calm down. Like, I even myself had to get out of that. Like, I ended up having, like, heart issues one time because I got so intense playing this game. And I was glad Goku knocked me out that tournament because I probably would have died if I kept that way. But there's some, like, measure of that intensity that needs to be there. And then you have to, like, develop your local players to be like, don't be a dink. Help other people.
Right.
Because I helped you.
Well,
but we'll
for me...
Sarah. Hold on, wait, real quick. We'll throw to Sarah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, like, I agree with that because, like, with my local players at the shop, like, a lot of them, they're getting, like, the same, basically the same 3 or 4 people. They'll keep on winning the same tournaments and stuff. They'll get a big ego and then all this stuff. And then there's, like, newer players who come in and, like, hey, I'm just going to, like, outright stomp you, you know, all that stuff. And then, like, the newer players, they won't be able to get a chance to, like, experience an actual game. They'll just go in and, like, KO them, like, within a couple of seconds. Yeah, I just feel like the newer players, they don't have a good experience with these same people that are playing over and over again, that are winning the same tournaments over and over again. So I'll sit down and teach them, like, you know, hey, just roll some dice and then let them KO some of my figures, and then they'll eventually get to that level where they'll KO the whole team, and then I'll be like, hey, just, you know, and then they'll get more confidence in themselves. They'll be more calmer. They won't be nervous about going in these tournaments and, like, you know, all that stuff. It's just developing the player is what it is. It's just the development, how their play style is. I think that's how all these local players are getting into it and stuff.
All right, cool. All right, Eric, go ahead and go at it.
So for me, I think, okay, if it's a non-competitive tournament, like not super big prize support or whatever, I'm always going to bring my A game. I get a new player. Let's say I lose round one, because round one is really going to dictate in a situation like that how quickly I put my teacher hat on. Round one, I faced maybe my arch local rival or something, and he got me. Bam, done. All right, well, cool. Sit back now. I'm more in a mind to say, all right, I can essentially try to give tips or coach people through their team per se. Sometimes it feels that way when you're playing them, and when I do that, they get a lot of learning. I think definitely maybe setting up something at the venue where you meet a half hour earlier, an hour earlier with those new players if they really want to learn, and just walking through a team with them playing for fun. That's great. It's hard in the 45-minute, 50-minute session to kind of, I'll almost call it mother someone in a way with their team when they're new, knowing that's okay, well, I'm not going to get any points out of this game. I'll be lucky if I could KO this 50-point piece in time. This dude is moving or this girl is moving at the speed of molasses. I'm done. But I mean, if they're quick about it, it's cool. But that's just one of the hard things I found in tournaments is that new player. If I face a new player, I know I'm low to no points. I need to get in there and kill that 25-point, 50-point piece and run away. That's all I'm going to have time for. That's all they're going to let me do. But, let's say I'm playing some. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Someone's bringing up their daughter. Because, sometimes a lot of people bring their kids there. So I'm playing the kid. And I will let them know, hey, you got to outwit there. You got to perplex there. You decide to not move your stealth figure and hindering, but the stealth square is right adjacent and it's the same amount of moves, so why not? I'm still going to nab that figure, but, I mean, at least letting them be aware of the environment,
I got you outwit.
Let me say this right here. One of the things that when I first started playing, I'll say I have to go through, is sometimes it comes down to the haves and the have-nots. Okay, the haves are the ones who have all the LEs, all the chases, all the pools of they can borrow pieces. It kind of goes back to the comment we made earlier about how to keep your price down low. So is make sure that you're able to communicate with everybody in the store that they can borrow a piece if they ask for it. Right. And sometimes those guys playing bigger and better pieces to give them the encouragement and actually give a newer player a fighting chance. And they learn as they go. But if you're a new player and all you, I could say all you could get out this set was something out of War of the Light, and all you got was that what do you call it, it was all these weak pieces. That's all you got. While the next person got a guy patch. Okay, you don't have access to those pieces to do well, and that's where I think the lopsidedness really happens. And when someone doesn't have a good time, is when they're sitting down with a team or what they have in their personal collection, and that personal collection may not be strong. And we know what we're talking about. They don't have Superman, the Chase Superman, or one of KC Supermans and those guys. But they're sitting across playing against that. That's where the problem comes into play. So it goes back to the formats in which you put up for the players to allow equal play based on the people that you have at your venue. Because I could give an example of how a young guy came and played. Now, I'm not saying everybody should do like I did, but this is what I did. I'm playing a team with Brother Voodoo.
Oh, gosh.
Okay? This guy has no clue not only what Brother Voodoo does, that's one, but he's brand new to the game and he's trying to sit up at a tournament. Okay, this is his first tournament. Okay, I tell them right up front, I'm going to win this game because of this right here. Okay? So what I want you to do is try to prevent me from doing this right here. And that's it. We play. I end up beating him, and at the end he says thank you. So, and he's one of the longest people that have stayed at our events in that store for over 2.5 years. So that's the kind of thing you should have to tell him. And then afterwards, hey, if you ever want to borrow Brother Voodoo, you can borrow him. Okay, so he borrowed it for the next 4 tournaments because you recognize what he could do. So that's how it is. It's really about just sharing the wealth. Okay, that's how I feel.
Yeah. All right. So we've had super mega awesome 200 episode. I hope you enjoy this. This is definitely not the episode that I had scheduled. But this, I think what is interesting, definitely in spite of like last week's episode, is that you can see, like with my team members, I'm like, hey, we have diverse opinions, and not everybody is in. There is no cult of dark logos going on. So you can see that. But also, I think the other thing you can see is that no matter what, we're all hardcore players, but we're not douchebags. We're not dinks. We're not out there to make sure that the other person has a bad time. We have our own different concerns about how the game is being played in our local area, but we're not just doing things to just be like full on predator mode. Except me at times, because I guess I'm the evil, Lord Palpatine of the group. So
You guess?
yeah, Force lightning.
You're not alone.
Force lightning all the way, I guess. But yeah, and just hopefully, like if you ever have somebody and they're like, hey, all the meta people are freaking evil bastards that don't, wish harm on all the people they play. Like, just play them this episode, and you can see like we have a good grasp of like these are strong pieces, but also like this is the scope of dealing with things, and it's not just all on the players. It's not just all on the judges. And it's not just all WizKid's fault all the time, even though it always is WizKid's fault all the time. So, freaking WizKids. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you want to hit me up and follow the show, there's this whole like bell thing on YouTube so you can know when a new show is out. Or you can just follow me on Twitter and automatically be notified when a new show is out. You can, and the Twitter is at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, there's like cosmic dragons out here, so watch out. You can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com if you wish to opine. Keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. Let me know what you think about this episode. And I got some good feedback on the YouTube's side for the last few episodes, so big shout outs to that. You also can get a Phoenix Nest shirt from the link below in the description if you want to rep that shirt. We're working on logo version 2.0, and a couple of months we'll have that. And then I think that, if you want to donate to the show, you can go to startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. That's it for today's episode. Again, thank you for listening to me for 200 so episodes of me talking about little plastic men, and I appreciate your viewership. Next week's episode will be the Black History Month episode, and I will have KJ back on. I will have Will Holland on, and I will also have Roni KJS on. He is one of the Rock Board judges, or one of the Rock Board judges, and we're going to have an interesting discussion about what you can play for Black History Month before Black History Month comes about. So that's it. Thank you for listening, and remember, we all have to start over sometime. And then we go do 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 do, because this is not the chord.